Welcome to episode 2 of Full Court Magic. I'm Don Strouble. I am the Orlando Magic beat writer for Roundtable Sports, and I am happily joined by my colleague Andrew Cherico, who's been doing a great job covering the Magic and the Miami Heat for our Roundtable sites. We hope everyone has had a wonderful holiday season so far, restful, and just a great time with your family and friends. Drew, how you doing, my man?
Doing good, doing good. Just like you said, enjoyed my holiday season, got to relax a little bit with family, have some good Christmas meals, watch some Christmas movies. How about yourself, Don?
It's good, man. It was a great time, and happy to have been back in the Kia Center over the weekend for the Magic's first two home games in over 2 weeks. That was my first time in the arena since December 9th, and we're going to be talking about why that is. I mean, obviously, the team suffered the NBA Cup semifinal loss to the New York Knicks. Came home for a couple brief practices and then went back out on the road for a 4-game West Coast road trip that they finished 500. And last time we were on the air for you guys, we had just talked about the loss to the Denver Nuggets to open that road trip, in which the Magic for a while seemed like they were in it, but then surrendered 35-7 run. And you're not going to win a bunch of games when you give up a 35-7 run in not even just the full length of a quarter, Drew, just in a little over 7 minutes. So obviously, the Magic played a much better game against the Nuggets the other night, but we'll get to that soon. So after that Nuggets loss, Orlando goes to Utah, and that is a really close game that shouldn't have been close. The Magic were up double digits late, squander the lead, and then it takes some more Desmond Bane hero ball to get that W. What did you see from that, Andrew, that gave you cause for concern, but also at the same time maybe was a show of resilience on the team's part?
Yeah, Don, I think this is something that we've seen all season long with this Magic team. It's just the lack of consistency in effort. It seems like sometimes when this team is playing on all cylinders, they could be the best team in the league. But when they tend to take some defensive possessions off, start getting lazy on offense, just looking for a quick shot, you can see the offense kind of fold. You can see the game plan fold right in front of them. And that's kind of maybe a remark on Jamal Mosley and how he's been coaching this team. Remember, this team didn't get off to a great start to begin the season. They only recently started to pick it up. And a good win streak not too long ago is what got them to first in the division. But now they need to continue that. The Miami Heat are right on their trail. But with this Magic team, I think one thing that we've seen is the emergence of, I know we're going to speak about it too, Anthony Black, and the way he's been playing in
Yes.
absence of Jalen Suggs, just his poise on the court. He seems like an entirely different player from last season. He's attacking. He's one of the most vicious on-ball defenders in the league. And then you mentioned it, the Desmond Bane hero ball. I don't know if it seems, but it seems when it comes to late in the fourth quarter, crunch time, big time shot, it seems like Desmond Bane is going to have the ball in his hand, as he's had plenty of times this season. At the beginning, you would say, oh, that's going to be Paolo's job or Franz's job, but seems like Desmond Bane, whether it's, and it's not always been a 3-point shot either. Everybody thinks he may take like a 3-pointer. He attacks. He attacks the rim. He tries to get fouled. I think he's great in contact. He's great drawing the foul. I know it's a foul bait league nowadays, so I mean he does a really good job at it. But the win against the Jazz, definitely close. I shouldn't have been that close. It's hard to win in the NBA though, as any night, any given night, any team can come out and surprise you. I think the Magic sometimes they play down to their opponent, up to their competition. I think that was just another situation where they almost got a game robbed from them, but their talent was superior enough to get out the win.
Yeah, yeah, and I think to your point about Desmond, that's why you mortgage your draft capital for a player like that, and that's why you give up, solid role players in KCP and Cole Anthony to go get a guy of that caliber, because in those moments, especially with Orlando dealing with injuries up and down the roster yet again, uh, you kind of look to him to be a de facto number one option, especially with Paolo not finding his footing maybe as quick as a lot of people would expect. I mean, the poor guy's been getting dragged on Twitter, and we'll get to him here soon enough. But definitely Paolo has been like underperforming since returning from that groin strain that forced him into a 10-game absence. But yeah, it was it I talked about this last week with Anthony, and Utah is one of those teams that feels like they're getting close to the end of the rebuild. They have a lot of really talented players, Keontae George being one of them, who, I mean, he almost won that game for the Jazz with that 4-point play. And I believe it was Anthony Black who was contesting him. And he drew him on the pump fake, got him up in the air, and then hit the three to turn into the 4-point play. But then Bane on the other end used his athleticism, and old Kevin Love tried to stay in front of him, but Bane, we know he's a big dude and, almost 10 years younger, so he was able to get past him. But no, the Jazz are a good team. Will Hardy's a great young coach. Kevin Love is a great vet to have in that locker room for those guys. And I mean, you can't sleep on Utah. You can't sleep on any team in this league because, I mean, we've seen it the other night with the Hornets. Like, any team, despite the record, can bust you up if they want to. So close win for the Magic there. They go to Golden State after that. That game got away from them pretty quickly. That ended up being a blowout loss. That was one of Paolo's better games since returning. I believe he had 21, 12, and 7. But again, just a lack of efficiency and effort plays really led to their demise after they had Golden State's number in the first meeting in Orlando. Anything particular stand out to you about that game?
Yeah, just 7 of 27 from the 3-point line, 18 turnovers. It was one of those games where the offense hasn't been clicking. It's with this offense, it's really been known between it's either the Orlando Magic or the Orlando Tragic, in my opinion. This offense has seen better days, and this offense has had great games. I think a lot of it really relies on the ball movement between Desmond Bane and a guy like Anthony Black stepping up. Because, like you mentioned, Paolo isn't playing at his best right now. Yeah, he's getting dragged on social media, and there's a lot of crazy rumors about him right now and what he may be going through. But the real fact of the matter is he's recovering from an injury. Maybe he's still not 100% and battling through it. Should he rest? Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But, it's Paolo Banchero. He wants to be out on the court. He wants to play. He wants to give his full effort. I think with Paolo, the big thing is, like, you can see he doesn't have that same bounce, that same first step that he's had in the prior seasons. Maybe it's extra weight that he's put on because, he does look stockier than ever before in terms of muscle mass. And his 3-point shot hasn't been falling like it has been because, the thing with Paolo, everybody was saying, oh, Paolo needs to stop pulling up for 3-pointers and mid-range and attack the rim. He's so big. Now you can see why. Maybe he wants to preserve his health a little bit. And that's, I think, a big factor in this game. But it was just a game that was lost from the beginning. Golden State went on a huge run in the fourth quarter, really put it away. The Magic had their chances to get back into that one, but it was pretty much a closed case after that one.
Yeah. And, you talk about the turnovers, and this is a team where when you're down so many skilled players, a lot of your wins are going to be predicated on the intangibles, tenacity, grit, and effort, while also taking care of the ball. And the Magic have done a spectacular job taking care of the ball. There's a stat that came out the other night after the Denver win. I believe it's since November 25th, so right before Thanksgiving, they have committed the least turnovers across the league. And that's like a 19-game stretch, or I believe I saw. So it's like we're seeing this team be very proactive in ball security, and that's really important for them because you will lose a lot of games if you're turning the ball over because those turnovers turn into second chance points. And it's something we saw against Golden State, something we saw against Charlotte when they came back home. So the Golden State loss, I mean, it happens. It's Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, like those guys are in a bit of a desperate situation right now, kind of floating around mediocrity, and they're trying to get their season back on the rails in a lot of respects. So I'm not entirely surprised that they came out hot,
I hate to interrupt, but without that stat with the turnovers, if the Magic haven't been one of the most careful teams in the league, they're not at the state that they are right now. Without Franz, with missing Jalen Suggs here and there, when Banchero was out for 10 games, if they haven't been the most careful team in the league, I don't even think they have a positive record. So because the offense just hasn't been clicking as well as you thought it would. Of course, the injuries and people stepping up is playing a factor into that. But if they haven't been taking care of the ball, which has been so important for Coach Jamal Mosley and the Magic, but I think in terms of the 3-point shooting, in terms of the ball movement, there's still so much room for improvement. You think you add Desmond Bain, you're automatically going to become a top 10 3-point shooter. It doesn't work like that.
Sure.
One guy can't change the entire team. And then you mentioned with Golden State, I saw a quote the other day from Steve Kerr. We're not the same. Something along the lines of we're not the same dynasty we used to be. Or like we're a dynasty that's fading away. It's true. The Golden State is going through a transition period, but still, when you have a guy like Curry and Jimmy Butler who can turn it up on any night, it just happens to be against the Magic.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's not the mid 2010s anymore, and I mean, Golden State's very good even recently. I mean, their most recent championship came in 22. But yeah, there's a lot of frustration in that locker room. I mean, I'm sure you saw the thing with their owner Joe Lacob and the fan, and he's like,
I saw that.
no one's more frustrated than me. So they're going through their own stuff. But yeah, with the Magic, it's that they had a really nice offense. Like last month, especially when more guys were on the floor, they broke through in top 10 offensive and defensive rating, which was kind of the expectation for them going into this season, especially after the acquisition of Bain. So, but that did it for the Golden State game. They go to Portland and they end on a high note before Christmas. I believe it was a 110 to 106 win. So another close game. But again, Portland is another good team that's got a lot of really nice pieces that also seems like they're maybe getting towards the end of their rebuild. And, Desmond Bain, when they played Portland at home, hit that big buzzer beater three and then had the game-winning block, I believe, on Donovan Clingan for the Trailblazers. And so in both those games, Dez has showed up in a big way and at least got the Magic home in time for the holidays with a W.
Yeah, I think two things from that game, and there was a bit of a trend during that 3-game stretch. I think Tyus Jones had a really strong game against
He
Portland.
did. He did.
What was it? It was 16
And
and
7.
7.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really strong game for Tyus
That
Jones.
is.
He hasn't been what many people expected him to be
Mm-mm.
for this Magic roster this season.
Mm-mm.
You kind of thought he would be the floor general when Jalen Suggs or Anthony Black was out, but it kind of seemed like sometimes offensively he kind of falls back, and on defense he's consistently targeted because Tyus Jones and defense don't usually go along.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's tough for 6-foot guys in the league. You got to be really feisty
That's
for
why
that small.
it's no fault to him, but
Yeah.
his size, and it's just naturally the way the league is. He's going to be attacked because of that size. There's so many athletic guards in the NBA now, but with Jones, when he has offensive games like that, the offense looks different. It flows differently. It brings almost that you can see the movement. You can see the plays being ran. It doesn't get stagnant. I think that's something so important with this team. And then another key player that I saw from that 3-game stretch was Noah Penda.
Yes.
So much hype for the second round rookie. Not sure what I expected him to be leading into this season. The idea in the back of my mind was like, oh, he's going to be the future Jonathan Isaac of this roster. And I think you see a lot of J.I. playing off like he's a defensive anchor. He can guard 1 through 5 if needed. Great rebounder. And I think another underrated attribute about Penda is his playmaking ability from the low post. Like he can dish out the ball pretty well. He sees the court well. He has good court vision. And I think he is a difference maker on offense when the bench is out there. He definitely isn't just enough yet to be with the starters running the big time plays. But I do think he brings a consistent value along with Jace Richardson. Both rookies, I think, have been great hits so far this season, have done what the Magic have needed them to do. They haven't had to overstep their boundaries. They haven't had to play hero ball as rookies, but more they're being able to develop in a system behind very talented players. I think Penda's getting so much knowledge from the defensive side from Jonathan Isaac, and then the offensive side from a guy like Paolo. And then with Jace, he's getting so much defensively from Anthony Black and offensively from Jalen Suggs. So things like that, and vice versa, because Jalen Suggs is a beast on both sides of the ball. I just think those guys stepping up during this times having an injury, it's almost like, I hate to say a repeat of last season where like Tristan Da Silva had to step up, but it's kind of what the team needs at this point. And if the Magic want to make a deep run in the playoffs, they need all their guys to be healthy, including Franz, who I think right now, if we had to call it, is the 1A of this team until Paolo can return to form.
Yeah. And, I mean, Coach Mosley's mantra this entire season has been, the team playing by committee, next man up mentality, because they don't have a choice. Like, I mean, they're quote unquote core 4 of Desmond, Paolo, Jalen, and Franz. I mean, I would have to look at the numbers, but they have not spent a lot of time on the court together. There's just been a lot of various injuries. And yeah, I mean, Penda and Jace, you make a great point in likening their situation to Tristan's last year, is that, a lot of times, especially second round picks, they're in the G League. You know, Noah, like for all intents and purposes, if this is a healthy team, he might be down in Kissimmee with the Osceola Magic right now developing, but they need him, and he's answered the call, and that's been good. And yeah, with Tyus, I think what this team was really hoping for, like you said, a true floor general, because Anthony Black, he's definitely got those point guard capabilities, and at 6'7", that is a very important attribute with his size. But like with Suggs and Bain, they're shooting guards by nature, at least at this stage of their careers and being in the NBA. Like that is where they thrive. Jalen can distribute, but we know him for his on-ball defense. He has improved as an offensive player, but yeah, I mean, you need more of those Tyus Jones game, even if he can only give you 10 and 6. Like the the poor man is averaging like less than 3 points a game right now and like around 2 assists. Like that's not what you get, a $7 million 1 year contract. I mean, it's not breaking the bank, but you didn't bring him in there just to be a veteran voice that's unplayable. And Tyus is better than that. Coach Mosley knows he's better than that, and we're starting to see some of those results.
I think he's supposed to be an upgrade over Corey Joseph, and he hasn't
Yeah.
played that much better than Corey Joseph has. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
no, no,
kind
no,
of you think
yeah.
about that backup point guard role, you kind of think of that spot. Tyus Jones, when he has games, and he just needs to be efficient. He needs to keep the offense moving. Doesn't need to show up on the stat sheet. Doesn't need to show up on the box
Yeah.
score. Keep the ball moving.
Yeah, and take care of it, and so I think that this could just be some growing pains with a new team, and hopefully he comes to form in the new year. We've seen the glimpses; it's there. But yeah, that wraps up the West Coast road trip. So then the Magic come home and they lose a bad game to Charlotte. And more than talking about Charlotte, we can touch on the turnovers and stuff, but this is where uh, the internet really started going after Paolo in a bad way. I mean, it had been bubbling, but Magic lose that game 120 to 105. And the biggest issue was effort. And it's something that Anthony Black talked about after the game. He noticed that there was a common trend going back into the West Coast trip of not making enough effort plays, diving on the 50-50 balls. And the Magic, I think they had, man, I have to look at the exact numbers. For some reason, I remember the percentage that Charlotte shot on their second chance points or points off of turnovers, and it was 9 of 17, which is a great number. Let me just pull up these stats real quick. I have them
Yeah.
right.
On that note, it was like the effort you've been talking about with Anthony Black. Do you see that's why he's been performing so well? I think that's why coaches get putting more and more trust into him. Is with the
Yeah.
effort. You see that he's making the plays defensively, which is allowing him to get out and transition offensively, allowing him to feel comfortable playing at his pace. Yeah, those stats.
It's 25 second chance points for the Hornets. Excuse me, not off of turnovers. 25 second chance points. They shot 9 of 17. So, and it's crazy because, and a lot of these came late. The Magic matched them in offensive rebounds. They both had 16. Now, again, some of those came late, so technically garbage time maybe, but nevertheless, like 25 second chance points, and the Magic only had 11. They shot 3 of 14 on those second chance attempts. So it's like you can't do that. And this is the game that people really got after Paolo. He had 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. He was a minus 11 in 31 minutes of play. And this is where there's been all these narratives. And I mean, he even did an interview with Josh Robbins of The Athletic, where the chatter has grown so much because not only are you hearing it from, keyboard warriors on Twitter, Jeff Teague went on his podcast and said that Paolo and Franz play better without one another. And Paolo shot that down, I mean, he said it was BS and, detailed all the reasons why that's not the case. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people are just going to look at the numbers and see, well, when Paolo was out for 10 games, the Magic went 7-3 with Franz as the number one option. And now the Magic are 5-5 without Franz on the floor since he suffered his high ankle sprain. And Paolo hasn't been playing like Paolo. To your point, we talked about Paolo, like maybe he's not 100% healthy. What do you think is going on? Maybe beyond that, do you think it's a confidence thing? Because we're not seeing the drives, we're not seeing the dominance that you see from a 6'10 all-star forward that, I mean, we're talking about a guy who can turn it up whenever he wants. If you look at his playoff numbers, they are insane. Like what he turns it, he is a top 10 playoff scorer and shoots like 45% from deep. I mean, he truly turns into the number one option that you expect him to be. But since coming back from this groin strain, he's had like a couple good games, but it's been a rough 10-game stretch.
Yeah, with Paulo, the big question: to overreact or to not overreact.
Yeah.
I still feel like there's a grace period because it's so early in the season. Now, if this was in the final 10-game stretch, Don, we're having a completely different conversation about Paolo Banchero.
Hmm.
But just because it's still early in the season and there's enough time to turn it around, I'm just deducting it down to coming off of an injury in a somewhat of a new offensive system with Joe Prunty and Desmond Bain being very ball dominant. You know, Paolo last season was one of the most ball dominant players in the league. If he didn't have the ball on offense, the Magic weren't scoring. Put it like
Hmm.
that.
Sure.
I think, and really quickly, because I don't want it to escape my mind, the Magic aren't winning the championship if Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner aren't on the court together. They're a
Yeah.
1A, 1B. Put it in the way I think about it, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. No
Sure.
difference. 1A, 1B. Either guy is a problem for the defense. You have to double both of them. You have to have both of them on your radar all times. That just creates so many issues for defense. They need each other to win a championship. If this team wants to go far, this team was constructed, built around Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner.
Hmm.
In terms of what Banchero is going through right now, you're there every game, Don. You're seeing what I'm seeing in person. I'm watching it from home. Uh, he hasn't had that same burst that he's had, like that burst that everybody, he was coming out of Duke and he was yamming it on people, attacking the rim super strong. You can tell he's gotten more, he's gotten built over the past few seasons, but it just seems like he isn't clicking right now. I think it's a slump. He's going through a slump. Hasn't found his rhythm since he returned back from injury. I mean, if you want to talk about it, if you talk about Franz Wagner last season, when he got back from injury, he hadn't found his shooting form until the following season and Eurobasket. He shot terribly in the playoffs against last season. So you think now about Paolo Banchero, you obviously don't want the slump to last that long, but maybe there's a break needed. Maybe he does need to sit for a game, regather his bearings. Maybe he's trying to play through it right now. Maybe he wants to play out of the slump. I think with Paulo, he just needs to continue to let the game come to him. You don't want to see him start pressing. Once you see him start pressing and start doing things that are uncharacteristic of him, that's when it becomes an issue. That's when he becomes a problem on the offense. But if he can still play within the system, take his shots where he finds it, he doesn't need to be the number one right now. Bain is doing a great job this season of being the main ball handler on offense. If Paulo can slowly each game improve in terms of where he's finding himself in the offense and work his way back up to being the number one option, I think that's fine. But the Magic do need Paolo Banchero if they want to win a championship this year.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, to your point about Franz, yeah, I'd have to double check his efficiency, but he was with Paulo among those top 10 scoring averages, like, and they only got to play 5 games at the playoffs. And so it's like when those guys are right, this is a very high caliber team. So real quick before we move on to the next topic, Paulo in the month of December, he's played 10 games, 39.7% field goal percentage, 19.4% from three. He's averaging 17 and a half and 7.6 rebounds with 4.8 assists. I'll give him credit, only 2.3 turnovers, so he's taking care of the ball. He's he's contributing to the Magic's really, really high efficiency rating in terms of avoiding the turnovers. So that's a bright spot. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where we give him some time, because I seen glimpses of it in that win against Denver. We're going to talk about him here soon, AB's big game, but uh, Paulo knew what needed to happen, especially with Jokic off the floor. He knew he needed to drive, and he found some of those driving lanes. Only finished with 12 points, but it's not all about stat sheets. You got to go off eye test, and my eye test showed me, okay, there's that quick step. You can still get around people. You have the strength and size to get to the rack and get that dribble penetration, and he did. And with that, we're going to get to one of our last topics here. Like you said, Anthony Black, my goodness gracious, a 38-point career high performance in a 127 to 126 win over the Denver Nuggets, in which Nikola Jokic sleepwalked to another massive triple double. But it was not better than AB, the 21-year-old third-year guard. Like I said, 38 points on 7-11 from deep. Started scoring fast and early, and this is the kind of third year jump you're hoping from a lottery pick. And my goodness, Drew, like this kid has been playing incredibly well. Let's look at his splits. In December, 12 games, averaging 18.6 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists to go along with a steal per game. He has been excellent in their wins, averaging 16.2 points, shooting almost 42% from deep. And he's having a career year right now. And he's one of those guys that's been called upon that needed to show this roster something, needed to be a guy to step up among all the injuries and this team trying to build chemistry, because he's been in this building for a little bit now and they need him to become that guy. And he has really answered the call.
Don, I don't know if you recall, but I wrote about this a ton during Magic Media Day when he was asked, like, are you comfortable being an X factor for this upcoming season? Are you okay with labeling yourself as a guy who the team will rely on to take that next step? And he says he's ready to do whatever the team needs, And he's done just that. I'll go even one step further, Don. Over the past 5 games, he's averaged 24.6 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 4.6 assists. Those are all-star numbers. Like if this past 5 games, he's been an all-star in this league. And the step that he has taken up has been massive. Whether it's Coach Shamgod getting into his head about the dribbling and the way he's attacking offensively, because he just looks so much more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw it the previous seasons, it's almost you couldn't tell if he knew he was fitting in or not. He was looking for his spots. He would attack the rim, have a big dunk here, a big play there, but he never really found that comfortability in the offense that you've seen this season, where he's taking the ball down the court himself and setting people up and going around screens and catching it. He's playing differently. This is a new Anthony Black, and this is an Anthony Black that we want to stay, right? We want this guy around this specific 5-game stretch around the team for the rest of the season. I think it's hard. I'm ready to put it out there. If he continues to play like this, it's hard to take a guy like him out of the starting lineup.
Yeah, he's playing really well. He's definitely easily making a case for most improved player. And when you look at a guy who's taken, I believe his number 6 was his draft selection. When you look at, like, obviously Paolo, first overall pick, goes and wins Rookie of the Year. That's the best case scenario for your number 1 pick. But there's a little more grace period the further down in that draft order you get. And you look at guys that were picked in the 3 through 6 range, you look at like your Evan Mobley's of the world or like a Scotty Barnes. It's like, okay, what does that year 2 and 3 jump look like? And we're seeing that with Anthony Black is like, okay, this is year 3. We know he has the tools. We know the skill set's there. And yeah, I believe that beyond Coach Mosley, Joe Prunty and God Shamgod and all of those assistants have really done a good job helping him along. And Tyus Jones has also been in his ear. He's been like a veteran for him. I know Desmond, so guys that have been in this league are really helping him out. And so props to Anthony Black. He's the reason that they beat one of the best teams in the league the other night after coming off of a very disappointing performance against Charlotte. I mean, Drew, I think it was like halftime. Jokic had 9, 4, and 2, and he finished with 34, 21, and 12. And seeing that in person, I mean, it's just, you can't stop the guy, especially he gets to that spin move in the low post. You're not doing nothing against that.
Once he backs down with the ball, it's kind of all over. But Don, you said something before that resonates. The eye test of Anthony Black. Stats off the numbers, right? There he's going great. But what you see on the court, the kind of effort, the hustle that he brings, that's what Coach Mosley talks about post-game. That's what Desmond Bane talks about post-game. Why is Anthony Black performing so well right now? His hustle and his effort. He wants it more than everybody else does right now, and he knows this is an opportunity to shine. But you're talking about Jokic. He's a problem. I mean, you want to talk all-time conversation.
He's
arguably the greatest center of all time. Arguably. There's a clear argument, that's ruffling some feathers, but it's true. So when you have games like that, And the Magic, who thought the Magic were really going to pull out that win against Denver? Coming off of that loss to Charlotte, everybody thought it's all right. This is going to be a bad stretch. Then they come out, surprise you. Anthony Black, biggest game of his career, comes out, proves everybody wrong. They get the win against Denver. That says something about this Magic team and the resilience they have.
Yeah.
Now, if they can just keep that going, can they not fall back next game? Can they keep that same intensity, that same pressure, that almost playoff environment that they had against Denver going?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing is, Denver, especially last season, was a historically bad offensive team without Jokic on the floor. I mean, the offensive rating just plummeted. And so the Magic took advantage of him being off the floor. But in that fourth quarter, especially that final possession, incredibly disruptive. Incredibly. I mean, the crowd, that they got the 6-man jersey hanging in the rafters for a reason. They got loud. I think he missed 2 free throws late. And in a 1-point game, if he makes those, you lose the game.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, very, very big. It was a full effort. Desmond Bain, got to give him props. 10 of 10 from the free throw line, 9 of 9 in the fourth. Like, huge, including the game winning free throws, like to give him the lead. Like, so another big D-Bain performance. But before we head out today, guys, we're going to preview tonight's game. The Magic are back on the road for a 3-game stretch. Feels like they were just home and now they're back out there until the 4th. And it starts with the Toronto Raptors, who are having a nice year, Drew. Considering this is not the same 2019 championship team, and they had a few rough years. I believe they're sitting at 19-14. I think that's what I saw. And just, yeah, 19-14, third in the Atlantic. And Brandon Ingram is having a very, very strong year. I have to check the injury report. I don't know if he's available tonight, but leading the team, averaging 22 a game. Scotty Barnes coming off of a big time triple-double, big time. And so, RJ Barrett's playing well. Manuel quickly, just up and down that roster. They've got contributors all over the place, really cohesive unit. So in your opinion, what are the Magic going to have to do to stifle this Toronto team?
I think it comes down to the forward depth that the Raptors have. I think everybody felt that this Raptors team has been brewing for a while, and you can all kind of see it come to fruition now this season between the depth they have with Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and RJ Barrett, who plays the guard forward role. I think the Magic really need to clamp down. That could come down to guys getting minutes like Jonathan Isaac, Noah Penda. Can these guys come in the game and limit their offensive prowess? And we know Toronto's a talented defensive team as well. You need to. Hopefully, this could be the game where Paolo Banchero breaks out of his slump. Maybe you get a 20-ball game from Paolo. I'll tell you this: the road trips maybe have been affecting this team. We know this. The Magic do perform well at home. On the road, not so much. So we kind of see if Paolo, maybe they need a big time performance from him if they want to get, because this is a game where it's hard not to see that the Raptors could pull this one off. The Magic don't get it back together. Keys, I think Wendell Carter has been such a strong center this season. I think there was a lot of talk about him in the offseason. He needs to take a step up. I think for what he does for the Magic, he fits fine. I think he's one of the most versatile perimeter defenders in the league as a big man, and he's solid on the boards. Just want to see the consistency and the effort. That's what it comes down to for this one. Don, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I mean, like I said, this is not the Toronto team of old that has struggled. If whatever rebuild, quote unquote, you want to call it, is over. This is looking like a playoff team right now. And yeah, no, I mean, the Magic are going to have to be on their best behavior. So that's going to do it for episode 2, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. And obviously tonight gonna have a post-game story. We're gonna have the Magic's shoot around comments. So please join our roundtable pages if you have not yet. No paywall whatsoever. I know I keep preaching this on Twitter to you guys, but it's such an interactive community and it is completely free to join. So we look forward to having you, and we will see you next week. For Andrew Cherico, I'm Don Strouble, and this has been Full Court Magic.